All right. Wow. Awesome. This is awesome, guys. Okay. Really, today I want to be discussing the overall mission of this facility, how we've all come together, what's even going on right now. On the face level, at least for a lot of the people that are here, this is a faith meeting. It's something that we plan on running weekly on Sundays. So anybody who's not here, who wants to be here, this is just the first meeting so we can establish um, what we're looking to do. Now, ISU is a boxing gym. It's a place of discipline where we're teaching the public how to get fit, learn self-defense, and possibly even expand in the professional world. My experience with boxing, or any martial art for that matter, has been that it has a very transformative power in terms of disciplining people and allowing their bad habits to be replaced with much better ones. And this is clearly through the very hard labor that we all put in together. Now, I'm not the only one who's a part of this. Everybody here actively is aiding in everything that we're doing and is a great blessing to be here in the first place. I'm not the only person, and it's definitely not just me by any degree that has allowed this to happen. There is Ken Artunian, who is my business partner, a great mentor, a man who started ISU 30 years ago. And it's due to our relationship, which is entirely faith-based. I think that's something that a lot of people should know. This facility, me being in this position, could not have happened if it wasn't for the good faith that somebody with a different religion, a different ethnicity, and a background could open himself out to do something really good. And now we're here and we're living it. And I want everybody who's here to understand that this facility is definitely in existence because of God and because of all the good people who are willing to serve each other in an aid to a much bigger picture, which is to support life. And we've had the great blessing to be a lot more than just a boxing gym. So our nonprofit is also aiding people who are post-incarceration. So if there has been anybody, even in your own lives, who you know has really been through the ringer, has made bad mistakes in the past and wants to stabilize their lives and continue to serve and become part of an organization like this, which is to really keep repeating and teaching others. So I want to be able to teach everything that I have so that other people are in a position to teach others. And this creates more and more God-fearing, good people and creating the environment in which we want to live. There is also people who, Adam, you might want to help me out over here on this one, but there are two other niches in which we're able to help. The other niche is going to be drug addiction of any kind. This, to me, is the most necessity for a meeting like this. Everybody who's been part of AA in any fashion is completely aware that there needs to be a belief in a higher power in order to get better, right? And that is exactly why we're gathered today. We want those people to have a structure. If you do not have a structure, there is going to be no future, okay? And we're completely here in order to aid you in every fashion that we can. We not only want the community members to be able to help each other, but we want everybody to know who's present, that they can contact any one of us. Now, the third niche is actually to help out people who are legitimately homeless. So we've been blessed with the opportunity to work with Hope the Mission. Now, Hope the Mission is a giant organization that can aid people in receiving permanent housing. The goal here is not to have people who are homeless and have given up on their lives or perhaps have ended up in a terrible tragedy to accept the fact that this is going to be a forever thing to me. I have a free bed, I have a free shower, and I just want to stay here, right? We want people to get better, to get permanent housing, to have beliefs in which not only are they recovering, but perhaps they're even going to teach their own children and the future generations, okay? And so I'm trying to express to the best of my ability what we're trying to help and how we're going to do it. And to me, all of this has manifested here today and the building of a gym, getting into boxing, which I had absolutely no thoughts of doing so. But through all of my personal hardships, that's what's allowed me to get to the next step. And so hopefully it's an aid to all of you. And today I would like to have the community members try and help this mission get out to a lot more people. And if a business like this exists, it's something for a lot of people in this immediate moment to hopefully recognize that who are the people that really have your best interest? Who wants to help you? You know, how many institutions are corrupt that you already know about, and who's going to be here when, you know, apologize for any profanity, but when shit hits the fan, you know, and we're living a very dark time and this stuff is very, very real. It's not a joke. And I would like everybody to know that I'm that serious about this. And it's not only me. We have an amazing set of team members here. Not all of them are present today because we all have lives and there's only so much we can do in a day-to-day. The first team member, my business partner, a man who's overseeing and constantly helping, is of course Ken Artunian, who I've mentioned before. He is a world-renowned coach and my personal mentor. He will likely be here a little bit later. In addition, we have myself, who I am a practicing rabbi, so I do know the laws of the Bible, but I make my living through the wonderful people who come here in order to serve them. And I just want to be open that I would love to be a resource to anybody who wants to talk about these things. I'm not here to self-reference. I would love to give you the source material and for you to not believe me, but for you to see it yourself. Now, I'm going to introduce a couple other people. We have another fellow rabbi, because these faith meetings are not going to be run alone by me or by my father, but the first introduction will be to my father, who hopefully, if we have the opportunity, will continue to speak. I just want to make a quick introduction quickly. My father. And you can actually, if you like, you can stand up and introduce yourself. And yes, please. And just tell people about what you're trying to teach and what this is all about.
Hey, testing 1, 2, we're okay. All right, you can hear me? All right, great. All right, well, this is beautiful. Nice to meet you all, or nice to see you face to face. I want to mention my son's Dan. Please go to his website and listen to his stuff on YouTube. It's really great stuff, as is Israel Horowitz. All my sons are knowledgeable. God bless you. You can turn to them. But these guys are doing it in public, so that's a resource, and I recommend it. Also, a guy named Chris R. Andrande is good, part of the friend group there. Listen, I'm going to quote a Hasidic, it's not even Hasidic, I guess you'd call it a Sephardic prayer from what's called a Maksor, which in this case is a Yom HaTeruah, a Day of Remembrance prayer book. And it says this: sharpen your mind and consider who you are and what you are and where do you come from and where are you going and what power animates you and to what purpose. I think it's an elegant prayer, an elegant thought, and it's a poetic way of talking about what people should always be thinking about. And the good news is that the answers to those questions are with us, and it's accessible to everyone. I'm going to show something. Hang on a second. This is a copy of the King James Bible. Okay, this is everything in the Jewish writing and the Hebrew and the Christian writing. And it's beautiful, and everything in it should be read if you get a chance in your lifetime. But I want to address the thing where the primary answers are, the thing that frames the questions for Jews and Christians alike, and actually for humanity. It's in the 5 books of Moses. And you see these markings here. This is the size right here of the 5 books of Moses. It's not like going to take you forever. It's not going to take you a lifetime. If you ever read a 200-page novel in your life, you could do this, and you could do it pretty quickly. And it's going to change your life. And it's not going to change your life with some secret esoteric knowledge. It's going to clarify things through a story. And he who created the human mind knows best how to communicate with the human mind, and he does it in a narrative. So what's wrong with a lot of our lives, even though we live in theoretically the most prosperous country in the world, and really the best time in the world, if you're looking in terms of people's ability to survive. And what's wrong? Well, it used to be that everybody, what built the great cities of the world, what built Jerusalem and Rome and Paris and London and the manifest cities of the United States, was a Judeo-Christian society that understood these things implicitly. It was in the culture. And most people just don't know those things at all. They actually stopped teaching in California, I think it's in 1967. They banned the teaching of the Bible in public schools. Now think about that. What used to be the air everyone breathed in, the common sense, has evaporated. Now there's some indication that it's coming back, thank God. But think of our children, think of grandchildren, think of the friends that you know who never read it even once and don't even know what's being discussed. Well, the good news is it ain't that tough to bring it back. You know, you got to read it and you're not going to think, wow, of course, why wasn't I thinking like that all along? That's what human life looks like. That's what drama is. That's who the good guys are. That's who the bad guys are. I think I can handle that. So anyway, I'm going to just read some things because, again, this is not hidden stuff. You can, by the way, you don't need this book. You can read it on the internet. All of them are, the Bible's there. It's there for everybody. So hang on a second. I'm going to get the book here. What are the elements of the narrative that we should keep in mind every day, and life becomes simple and clear, and we know what the goals are? This is the opening line of the Bible for Jews and Christians alike. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And when the earth was astonishingly empty, with darkness upon the surface of the deep, and the divine presence hovered upon the surface of the waters, God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated between the light and the darkness. God called to the light day, and to the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning one day. Just think about it. Who are we? What are we? Are we the creator, or are we created things? You know, so obviously we are creatures. That means we are created things. We're not the creator. Keep that in mind. It's transformative. The other thing is the big issue that everyone puts at the bottom, which is really at the top. God will, in the first few pages, 4 or 5 pages, he's going to talk about how the whole world was created, heavens and the earth, stars, the moon, the animals, the trees, all of that's going to be in there. Very short read. And then you got to talk about, and then let us make man. Hang on a second. So I'll read it exactly for you. No, that's not it. Here we go. Second page. Well, I can do it from memory. Here you go. So God said, let us make man in our image. So God created man in his image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And he blessed them. And he spoke to them. He said, rule over the fish of the sea and the bird of the sky and every living thing that moves on the face of the earth. Hey, that's pretty cool. Pretty good marching orders, right? And what's the only created thing in the universe that's made in the image of God? Man. And man is male and female. We live in a culture in which the idea that male and female differences are not important, that there's some superiority of one sex or the other, which is idiotic. We are mankind. And the big deal that most people in society literally teaches that it's the least important thing. You'd really be better become obedient to your government and obedient to the state and obedient to your corporation. And this little sidebar thing that you're going to have lots of sex and who knows, maybe even children, but you're going to give those children back to us to educate them for you. Or you could say, hey, maybe not. Maybe there's a more important deal here. And maybe getting this male-female thing right is important. And the instruction manual is there. And we have a nature. And we can overcome it if we think about it. But if we don't think about it, we're just victims of our nature. So anyway, you're going to go about the story of Adam and Eve, and he creates man, and he puts him in the garden, and everything's perfect, and you can have access in the garden. You can have everything in the garden. That's everything that is. There's two trees. There's the tree of life, and there's the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The only thing that's forbidden is the knowledge of good and evil. You don't take that upon yourself. I, God, am going to be the one who lays it out for you. And we can all know the rules, and they're not that tough. Well, it doesn't go well. The serpent, which is a thing, an evil element, we call it evil, but it's created by God to give us free will. And we can listen to the voice of the serpent, which says, God's just trying to cheat you. He's really afraid you're going to take over. The creator of all things, the physical universe, he's afraid you are going to take over. Yeah, right. And he's afraid you're going to become God. And so you should just eat of that tree, he says to the female aspect. And the masculine who could say, hey, how about we don't do that? Because we were both told, don't eat of the fruit. But he goes for it, like a moron, Bottom line is, all we have to do is not do that. There are rules. They are summarized in what is the Ten Commandments. Later on, you hear the story of creation. Anyway, they're kicked out of the garden. I'm just going to summarize briefly because it's too hard without a podium to turn pages, so I'll wing it. And they're kicked out of the garden and things go badly, and God says, I've kind of had it with mankind, with this evil upon evil thing. But so I think I'm going to wipe everything out, and I don't really care for the birds in the sky and the animals or anything. It's all going, because if man's going to do his thing, so none of it's worth it. Except Noah found grace in God's eyes. And so Noah and his family enter the ark, and mankind gets another shot. And so then we learn the history of mankind, and I think that's interesting. You're going to find out what used to be, until the 1850s, the biblical narrative of the genealogy of mankind, which is listed in the book. That's the only way people looked at it. There was no other way of looking at it until the 1850s, when the British Empire had enough resources and wealth to travel and support expeditions called archaeological expeditions. And where did they go and look? And they went into the ancient areas of Babylon, the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and Egypt, and they found everything that, because they knew where to look. The book had told them where to look, and they found evidence that it's so. And in any case, the Jews, you're going to hear the history of mankind after the flood. You're going to hear about Moses and the Jews at Mount Sinai, and God speaking to, according to the book, millions of people at one time, men, women, and children. And curiously enough, in a world of lots of dissension, no one claimed otherwise for thousands of years. How about God spoke to us and someone could say, no, I was there. That didn't happen. There is no book like that. Sort of interesting. So in any case, going on to the Moses, God is going to speak to Moses and the Jews, and there's the Ten Commandments. And so I'm just going to read what those are. Very simple. I am the Lord your God who has taken you out of the land of Egypt from the house of slavery. You shall not recognize the gods of others in my presence. Now, that's interesting. Lo yeh lecha Elohim acharim al panav. You shall not recognize any other powers that come after me. Now, that's what that means literally in Hebrew. So think about that. Is lust real? Is ambitious real? Are the sun, the moon, the stars real? Of course they're real. They're things created after God. Don't worship them. Recognize they are things that I gave you to benefit from in this world. And if you use them properly, it's all be to the good. But if you take any one of them, whether it's an abstraction like ambition, or which is a good thing, but if you put it above God, it becomes a sin. And the same thing with the necessary blessing of the sun. But if you worship that above God, et cetera, everything falls apart. So let's not mess that one up. Just a few more here. Let's see. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for God will not absolve anyone who takes his name in vain. Now, that doesn't mean that you curse. What it means simply is that you don't do evil in the name of God. That's what it means. It doesn't mean anything else, and that is the common sense reading of it. And that's how it's meant to be looked at. Remember the Sabbath day to sanctify it? Okay, meaning take one day out of a week and make it holy to God. Don't do your normal day-to-day stuff. I'm not here to burn you to the ground if you like this or you like that. But think about God for one day a week. And the rest, work like crazy if you want. Knock yourself out. What's wrong with that? Okay? Honor your father and mother so that your days will be lengthened upon the land that the Lord your God gives you. Well, that's pretty good marching orders. And this is not, as people think, for the benefit of the honor of parents. It's incumbent on each of us who are created things. And the only instrument physical that we know of through which we are manifestly here is through our parents. So if it's understood that if we can honor that which we see, we are capable of honoring that which is not seen. However, if we're not capable of honoring even what we see, it's axiomatic that we will not be able to honor that which we cannot see, and that will hurt us. So think about that. Fifth commandment. You shall not murder. I think that's a pretty good idea. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your fellow. And you shall not covet your fellow's house. You shall not covet your fellow's wife, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, nor anything that belongs to your fellow. That's it. It doesn't actually get more complicated than that. The interesting things about the narrative, we're going to dig the narrative. We're going to say, we're in a story. We're in the adventure of existence itself. Our lives are an adventure, and we'll be able to relate to what's referred to as the patriarchs. I see myself as Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, and I can see who the villains are. I get the idea that there's something wrong with the character of Nimrod. I get there's something wrong with the character of Pharaoh. And we get sharper. Let's get sharper. So I think the other thing is the only commanded prayer in Hebrew. When I say commanded, I mean biblically speaking. There's a prayer in the book of Deuteronomy, which the Jews call the Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And it goes on, you shall love the Lord your God with everything that you have, with all your heart and all your soul. And what's the point of that prayer? It's pretty short, so I won't go into it. And you can read it because it's cool. You know, when you read it, it's cool. What it means to love God. Well, be grateful that you're alive. Be grateful you have what you have. And that creates the symbiotic relationship that God wants to have with us. It bonds us to God, simply being grateful. And then things get better. And we understand there's marching orders. It's good to be fruitful and multiply. It's good for men and women to get together. It's good to be aware that we are subject to the voice of the serpent, and we should put ourselves, our egos, below the commandment of God, to not take a definition of good and evil upon ourselves, but to use the biblical definition of good and evil. And by the way, without, and this is true universally, without an understanding of what the Bible says is good and evil, there is no concept of good and evil. There's simply what you want, my will versus your will. And that's obviously, you've seen the manifestations, particularly of the last 4 or 5 years. It's bad. You can see how badly people can treat each other, but things can get better. And it's not a big, big job. But we got to be tough, and we can cut it. So that relates to the fact that we're here in a boxing gym. Boxing, the art of self-defense, all martial arts in general. Here's something people aren't aware of. In the Bible, Hashem ish milchama. God is a man of war, so we're supposed to toughen up. And so that's just maybe the last thing I want to say at this particular moment. I hope we can talk a little bit afterwards. Again, I could read more verses. All of the verses are cool, but you can read them yourself, and you do not need me or any organization. And this is the problem with that. We could fix the world, each of us as individuals. We just become fairly knowledgeable about the nature of the narrative. I'm not talking about being a scholar. That's even a word that might get negative as you overanalyze it. What's the simple meaning of this? I understand who the good guys are, what the bad guys are, what it means to tell the truth, what it means to lie, what it means to steal or respect other people's property. Literally, we could have peace on earth as soon as each of us as individuals take that upon ourselves. And then, of course, families would take it upon themselves, and cities and towns and states and nations, and hey, the world. Why not? Let's go for it. All right. That's it for now.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. I'd like to just introduce some of our current team members who are currently here and discuss with whoever is present right now that even based on the totality of the conversation that's been happening, if we can get our nonprofit to aid more people who are struggling and need the help, then we can actually become the education system for not only those who are in immediate need, but perhaps for those who are young. And this can turn into a lot more than whatever I had personally hoped out for initially. But it is a boxing gym and it's a membership, and anybody who's actively paying for it is aiding in this mission. So we would love to have a conversation with anybody who has any ideas from how we can get donations through the federal, through personal, through perhaps even just getting physical things. Like if we get clothing or we get food, then we would want to literally serve the homeless or give clothing to those who need it. And we will come up with ways in which we can do this on a regular basis. It's simply an ask for those who want to help. This is entirely volunteer work. Every Sunday, those who want to come can come. We'll be here on Sundays, I believe, from 11 to 12. We won't usually make it a 2-hour event. And for those who want to stay later or stay earlier, they're more than welcome to. And so with not much further ado, let me introduce some of our current team members. Mike Harvey is our COC, our community organizer. Let me go ahead and introduce him to the rest of you as well.
Here it is. Well, I can't say good morning anymore, so good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much, Dan, for the introduction. Mr. Moses, it was a pleasure to meet you for the first time today, and it was a great talk that you gave. And I just really wish that this becomes more of a habit and we start to see the same familiar faces that we're seeing here today. And, God willing, we actually grow into a bigger organization than where we currently are. I sure hope that that is a dream, and that's something Dan and I share, and along with Ken and the coaches and Stu as well, who's also a new member, Israel. A lot of the guys here that are involved in the organization. I certainly can't top your talk today, Mr. Moses, but I will say we are open to suggestions, and I already have a lot of familiar faces that we met today. You know, it's been a pleasure meeting everybody here, and I look forward to continue to meet a lot of you moving forward. Feel free to suggest some friends, family members, people that you feel that might benefit from this. Um, like I said, we're looking to grow this into something really big and impactful for the community, not just here in Van Nuys, people coming in from Sherman Oaks, North Hollywood. But my role here as a community outreach coordinator is to basically vouch for you guys. So when it comes to the grants and funding and fundraisers, I'll be the person to be hosting those kind of events. And, you know, I see a vision where we take this to the next level, where we host mock trial fights and make it a fundraiser event and make it a really impactful one. And, you know, have people from all over the city just come here and just watch a fight. Maybe some of you guys that are here in the audience to put on a show. And it'll be good practice, right? And then now at least you get an audience in front of you. I mean, hey, a lot of the people that were coming here, some of them have missed an opportunity to make it as a pro fighter, but this could be a second chance, and maybe you can, you know, get your name out there and maybe compete eventually professionally, right? We can't make any promises, but if you put in the hard work, I think anything is possible. I believe anything is possible, and through Christ, putting Him in the forefront of your life is going to be very, very impactful. So without further ado, I'd just like to pass it back on to Dan. But thank you guys so much. I'll be free afterwards if you guys want to talk to me, if you have any suggestions moving forward of how we can improve and how we can grow this community. I'll be here to chat with you guys. But thank you.
I'm just going to go ahead and hold this in my hand, and anybody who's going to come up, I just want to introduce our coaches who are present here today. If I could introduce Coach Miguel, who's an excellent mentor and coach for us. Just come up over here and just share a couple words with your excellent mentorship and relationship with ISU.
All right. Hello. Good afternoon. My name is Coach Miguel. I've been with ISU for a little bit over a year. It's a great gym, great people, surrounded by great people. And we're looking forward for this opportunity and helping out as much as I can. Thank you.
And also to our amazing coach, Alex. Please, you guys give him a round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. My name is Coach Alex. Great to see you all. Come to our class, 6:30 to 8. We'll work hard. I'll teach you some stuff you never know before. And I hope you'll come.
Yeah. And there's one final person, even though, of course, of Coach Corey and Coach Miguel, and Coach Ken, Coach Alex are our four coaches here. But Coach Corey and Coach Ken cannot be here today for personal reasons. Coach Corey is actually a sponsor. Coach Corey's actually here. No, he cannot make it. Okay. Ken is here actually, which is excellent. So let's go ahead and introduce Coach Ken, the reason all this has happened. I warmed them up for you.
Here you go. That's for you. I'm
God more to you, Coach.
excited.
God bless you. Good to see you.
Please just share a couple words. Just introduce yourself.
Wow, it's surprisingly. Oh, I'm gonna keep short. Whatever that's done idea, and I value whatever he's doing. Is amazing stuff. Help people get success all around our neighborhood. So whatever he's doing, I think it's a good achievement. So Again, thank you guys coming. That's it.
Yes.
Now, there's one final person who I'd like to introduce, and I've had the great pleasure of working with, but I think that this particular story is extremely interesting. Coach Stu, the man over here, you guys give him a round of applause. I'm going to go ahead and allow him to speak a bit, but just to preface a little bit about how we met, this is a man who's had 20 plus years of holding pad and living and breathing the boxing gym. And he himself has brought to my attention a facility called Restoration Ministries in Illinois. And they not only documented their own story, but it started off where it was a man and a woman who had very questionable beliefs and unpopular opinions on faith. Sounds a little bit like a couple people that you might know in this room. And they stuck with their guns, and ultimately they were interested in not only helping the public, but really glorifying God to any way that they could. And they not only opened a restoration home for people to get better through drug addiction, but it actually manifested into a boxing gym down the line. And through the grace of God, it turned into 6 ministries all throughout the world. So if that gives anybody here some hope, he certainly gave me hope. And I'd like to introduce him to all of you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, guys. Man, I don't even know what to say. I'm very grateful to be here. I don't even know what to say, but I'll say 2 things, and I'll sit down real quickly. First of all, we're all dying to become part of something, man. And like, this is a dynamic group here, and I'm really honored to be part of this group. And then I'm not a biblical scholar, but I am a believer, and I do believe that there's a scripture that says we prepare our hands to war. Okay, which in symbol, man, is like this group, man, we're preparing to go war against that thing that Rabbi was talking about that's killing our community. So man, I'm dying to become part of this. I'm really excited to be here. It's kind of like I've been transformed from Chicago, from Harvey, Illinois, to be here at the right time and to be part of this and to be part of you guys. So I'm just honored.
Well, I think that really closes us out really nicely. I look forward to talking with everybody who wants to stay to some nice donuts and coffee and have that conversation. God bless you all, and thank you so much for coming.